Hello, this is the second part of the errors that Ra made. I was a lot more vain when I first started these YouTube videos, but now, because it's very hard to talk, I think, so what? I have to at least say what the errors are. I think Ra created a very disturbing interpretation that is sort of not the I Ching and not the understanding of virtue, and therefore it's problematic for me. He wrote his own I Ching. It has to focus again. There it is. Okay, so he wrote his own I Ching. And really what you want to start with is he wasn't enlightened, nor was he even a nice man. He wasn't even a meditator. He was somebody, as I knew him, he was, that's part of all that story. I think the word that came up for me is he was cruel. And that's very important to understand that as a narcissist and an egoist, he was interested for himself in no blame. That means if he would be emotionally reactive, he would not want to be the one who said, "So sorry I upset you." He was the one who said, "Get it together and don't be emotional." Anyway, I can't speak to what he did it or why he was like this, but I know for a fact that how he could use human design and how he taught it were two different things. And when I realized we had 5 years of classes, and none of those students could do a decent job or a better job than me, I might be able to say, okay, split definition, but I wouldn't understand what that person would deal with. So I remembered from my early time that Ra made a big point about how he had done this great Rave I Ching, and all you'd have to do is read out of the book. And so it didn't work, that is clear. But what I wanted to talk about were beyond the Rave I Ching mistakes. The starting point, if you look, I decoded, I deconstructed, let's say I reverse engineered. How could he be so good and yet all of the students were so lousy? And when I talked to Elsa Sendler, she lives in Austria many years later, she asked Ra to add more classes, more levels, because she found the same thing. People couldn't work with it, and so he added all these constructs so that you could say, oh, you're on the cross of such and such, and this means this and that. All of it was based on Raw coming up with catchy phrase or some belief or another. I've already talked about types, but if we go back to where I started my reverse engineering, it starts with channels. That's what he was so proud that he had named the channels. So you have an activation 3828. This is the channel of struggle. Oh, and so you have some things you can say about it. Oh, it's the spleen and root. It's about the survival of your well-being or whatever you want. But let me tell you what the error is and why you get stuck. It's because a channel is one thing, but in fact, if you are using it, it's two things or more. Two gates, two hexagrams, two or more planets. And that's the starting point. Now, of course, because Ra came up with that channel name, a design of whatever, you could understand what the dead end was. You say channel of struggle, and then you're not sure. And so you start making stuff up. Now, I gotta stop, but we'll go on with more of those. They are the problem. Anyway, I gotta stop now.